Forced PDA, Instagram obsession, phone addiction, no crowds, looks of disdain, the claw in Canada. I mean, these are just a few themes of the 2025 Invictus Games and the mess it has become. Meghan Markle was uploading about 10 Instagram stories daily showing off her day and how good she looks helping others, which was really feeding that messiah complex that her former staffers said she had. Prince Harry, on the other hand, oftentimes looked miserable around his wife, so what did they do? Up the PDA to extreme measures. It's not like this is an event about veterans or anything of that nature. I mean, why would that be considered inappropriate? That must be the mindset, because after backlash and constructive criticism after every public event, these two keep doing the same play-by-play that has only guaranteed one thing: attention. So one can't help but think that all they seek is attention and self-praise. And that's the one thing we saw from all the content from the Invictus Games. Positioning people for the best camera angle, fake displays of love that come off pretty much forced, riding past veterans in a golf car as if they were fans that bought a ticket to your concert. I mean, this behavior is not only concerning, but embarrassing. And after all that, Meghan left Harry after her self-serving few days for the same excuse as usual: the children. So let's get into it. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Scandalous Media. It's Angela here, and it's sad how excited I was to see the Invictus Games every year because I know it's almost a guarantee that Meghan and Harry are going to embarrass themselves in their quest for attention. The games are far gone from being what they once were, for the veterans and focused on them, doing good, and basically a community. Now, it's the Meghan show, who in an effort at trying to pretend like she doesn't want the attention, like in this video, where she pretends as if Harry forced her to come up and take a mic hostage as she taps him away the way you tap an insect away, it shows how much she thrives on that attention and solely seeks it out. I guess that's why the crowds have shrunk over time. Most people didn't consent to come feed Meghan Markle's ego, and Harry's by association. More than 1,900 volunteers have signed up to help stage the $42 million event, which had up to 550 participants from up to 25 nations compete in 11 sports. About 2,000 volunteers participated, while Harry and Meghan hopped from private jet to private jet, with Meghan donning what seemed like 10 different jackets. Once again, the question of who is paying for these expenses is highlighted. The scandal continues, with Meghan's pathetic and plagiarized rebrand going from the mouthful of American Riviera Orchard to As Ever.
And this is the moment, and it's called As Ever. As Ever essentially means as it's always been. Shut up.
She tried to play it off as a surprise and a secret she's been keeping, as if her trademark applications weren't getting rejected left and right, as she tried to trademark everything under the moon. So stay tuned for my next video on that, which will cover so much. In the meantime, there is a lot to cover with the Invictus Games, so let's get into it. I have a lot in store for you guys today, so be sure to like and subscribe for new videos every week, follow us on social media, and check out scandalous.media for inside celebrity tea. We just published an article about Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds' toxic marriage, so definitely check it out, and stay tuned for the upcoming Blake Lively video. Also, you can now listen to us on podcast form, so be sure to follow us wherever you get your podcasts, as we will soon be posting deeper dives there, aside from the ones we do on YouTube. And now, let's all have a laugh together and watch how messy these two have become, shall we? Meghan's nauseating speech and forced PDA. I don't know if Harry and Meghan were told to up the PDA levels or what, but the way they behaved was actually ridiculous, unprofessional, and disrespectful considering this was a charity event, but judging from how Meghan looked, it seems like she couldn't differentiate between a venue and the bedroom. On February 8th at the welcome reception, both Harry and Meghan gave nauseating speeches, as I'll get into, but at one point, Meghan grabbed Harry's face here and slapped on a kiss. One user wrote, "Remember the episode of Friends when Susan Sarandon teaches Joey how to hog the camera and the limelight by hiding the other person's face during a screen kiss, pointing at the similarities between the two parallels?" This passionate kiss seemed like it was Meghan's way of telling the world they were fine, despite rumors of a miserable marriage and failed businesses in which most of their employees hate them, as I covered in my last videos. Meghan had jumped onto the stage claiming that she wasn't planning on speaking tonight after addressing the crowd as if they were all awaiting her presence. I kid you not, she starts off her speech saying, "Hello, you," and goes into a me tangent. Take a look.
Well, hello, you.
The crowd was not feeling her. There were scattered claps, but mainly no reaction, and that's why she kept on engaging the crowd.
Hi, everybody. How are we feeling?
After talking about herself and how Canada is home to her,
So I was not planning on speaking tonight, and I touched Canadian soil, and I went, oh, feels like home.
she goes on to introduce Harry in the most nauseating "I promise I love him for him despite all those reports" way.
I would be remiss if I didn't take the opportunity to introduce someone who means a lot to me.
It felt like she was trying to fit in as much mic time as she could because of that whole tangent of "you're going to see Harry all week." It's almost as if these are the Invictus games and we know exactly what his role is. Or maybe she wanted to remind herself of Harry's job instead of maneuvering him around with her claw or holding onto him like a scared puppy as we've seen in the recent games.
You will see him throughout this week. You will see him at the games. You will see him probably curling with you, cheering you on at He'll be cheering you on at wheelchair basketball. He'll be going down that, what is that? Is it the luge? Oh my gosh.
She just couldn't stop talking about herself, and it's hilarious how much you could tell she really doesn't want to get off that stage. For someone who wasn't planning on talking, she sure had a lot to say. Then she proceeds to brag about how much work goes into this event, almost as if people should thank them for their time instead of the opposite. She goes on this whole tangent of how preparing for the event is like getting kids ready for school.
And you'll see him through all of those moments. He'll be there with you. What you won't have seen is all of the moments that have happened in the lead up to these games. With families, the big rush in the morning and getting ready for school and packing the lunch boxes and making breakfast, and my husband's in all of that with us.
But I thought you didn't know that lunchboxes are still a thing, Meghan.
Is that a thing? The lunchbox thing? I don't know. This is when I feel really old.
School and packing the lunch boxes and
Perhaps you didn't know that Billy has a song called Lunch, but oddly enough, we have Meghan bragging about packing lunch for the kids that she's been showing on Instagram stories, as we'll get to later.
And then he'll be on his phone and Archie will say, Papa, why are you on your phone? He's like, because it's Invictus. I'm getting ready for Invictus.
Give her a mic and she'll find a way to bring up their kids and some random quote they said. It's hilarious. She continues her unhinged rant, telling the crowd that she hopes they recognize how much hard work Harry put into getting all of you to this week and how much she needs them to know that, despite the fact that there's nearly 2,000 volunteers.
What you won't have seen is all of the moments that have happened in the lead up to these games. And I hope you recognize how much of his heart he has poured into every single beat that has gotten all of you to this week that is going to be spectacular. I need you to know that. I need you to know how much it means to him and how much each of you means to him.
I don't get it. Are you doing this charity for the goodness of your heart, or do you need to be praised and coddled more than you already are? She then takes another 8 years to introduce Harry, using as many words as she can get with the mic.
So it is my entire pleasure and complete honor to introduce to the stage my husband, the father of our very sweet, excited children who are cheering you on from California, Prince Harry, founder of the Invictus Games, the Duke of Sussex.
Look at the way she's forcing us to believe that they're the perfect little family with the perfect kids. I mean, the way she talks is nauseating.
My husband, the father of our
so slow.
sweet, excited children who are
Waiting.
cheering you on from California, Prince Harry, founder of the Invictus Games,
Can you get to the point?
the Duke of Sussex.
It's like someone had to peel her away from the podium, my god. Nice to know they're still going with the lie that Harry founded the Invictus Games, as if William and Catherine didn't have a big hand in starting this. At the first ever Invictus Games in 2014, credit was given where it was due, writing that the Invictus Games is an initiative of the Royal Foundation of the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge and Prince Harry in partnership with the Ministry of Defense. It's not something that Harry started alone, nor is it something he came up with, as he admitted to getting the idea from the Warrior Games in the US, and it almost sounded as if Meghan was saying that in spite.
Prince Harry, founder of the Invictus Games, founder of the Invictus Games.
But every year, they repeat the same lie, so we shouldn't be surprised. And not to skip the order of events, but at the closing speech, Justin Trudeau gave this very long shout out to Harry, praising him for everything he's done. And while I do give credit where it's due, and it's obvious that this is something Harry is passionate about, this whole thing turning into something he's done on his own, as if his brother and Catherine were in a big part, and as if his royal connections didn't allow him to do something of this sort, is ridiculous. It's not like this was a self-funded activity. and yet Harry is seen emotional as Justin continues to throw praise and praise and praise onto him.
For that, we all owe you the deepest debt of gratitude. Thank you, Harry.
He ended up getting a standing ovation, and honestly, I'm happy Meghan wasn't there to kiss him all over, shifting focus from him and the games onto herself as usual. But back to Meghan's speech. Harry finally comes onto the stage, Meghan slaps him with that smooch, and he starts acting silly for the crowd and asking them if they're tired. Just like Meghan.
What a beautiful sight. Are you all tired? No!
Seems like they're reading off the same script. What's interesting to note is the fact that Meghan's opening speech this year was nearly the same as her speech in 2022, with all the optics about how you'll be excited to see this man, I wonder who he is. She mentions their children, and she takes her sweet time getting to the point.
The founder of the Invictus Games, and the father to our two little ones, Archie and Lily. Please welcome my incredible husband, Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex. The founder of the Invictus Games,
of the Invictus Games,
and the father to our two little ones, Archie and Lily.
father of our very sweet, excited children,
Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex.
Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex.
In 2014, King Charles, Prince William, and Camilla let Harry have the shine. They didn't introduce him so they can let him have his moment. Everyone adored him, and it wasn't forced, nor was someone begging for people to adore him.
Welcome to the Games. Welcome to Invictus.
As opposed to the tragedy of this year. An embarrassing claw-filled opening ceremony. At the opening ceremony, the PDA was on full blast. In this video, Harry turns to tell Meghan something as he prepares to go on stage to give his speech, and I don't know if he instructs her to kiss him or she completely ignores him and goes to grab his face as her claw touches his back as he's leaving, but the whole interaction is very unnatural and very unprofessional. I can imagine being at a work or charity event and my bosses can't keep their hands off each other. She literally holds his face with both her hands again and plants one on him in what seems to be the most unprofessional place to do this. In an effort of trying to convince everyone that they're going strong and everything is fine, they're coming off as exactly the opposite. As they're going to their seats, Meghan is double clawing him down even though there doesn't seem to be enough room to move, and Harry just looks miserable as ever whenever Meghan holds him like this. As they're sitting, Meghan has her head on Harry's shoulder as she holds his hand and holds his elbow with her other hand. Harry looks to be focusing on whatever is going on and is tilted slightly away from her. She looks very smug and self-satisfied and even closes her eyes while laying her head on Harry's shoulder. I mean, the whole thing is just so bizarre. Everyone else around them seems very focused, even looking serious or concerned at what they're watching and listening, but Meghan is smiling and thinking about that camera shot. One woman seems to be side-eyeing Meghan's cringe, while others pointed out how Meghan is taking notes from Catherine, considering how well-received she was when she came back from her cancer treatment. Aside from their many differences, Catherine knows how to be authentic while letting people in on her personal life, but still maintaining boundaries in a professional manner. At a different moment, Meghan is almost screeching with joy next to Harry and looks as if she can't contain herself as she is filming him, probably with the intention of posting on her Instagram stories because she was manic posting all week. I kid you not, there were at least 10 stories a day on her Instagram, which I'll get to later. Watch as his smile fades as she starts filming him. She is later holding the pom-poms and cheering and seems in great spirits to be photographed. Harry proceeds to give his opening game speech, which is as mid as most of his speeches. He randomly stutters, tells the crowd he loves them,
I love you guys.
and reflects on his promise to make the games a thing a decade ago.
Listen, the games were born more than a decade ago.
From a promise that I made to myself. A promise to uphold my obligation. A sacred obligation after my own decade and privilege of military service. To do whatever I could to help my fellow brothers and sisters heal.
Myself, my obligation, my own decade
When Coldplay's Chris Martin takes the stage, he makes a joke, saying,
When he called me, he said, I've called every other musician in the world. They all said they're not available, so I have to call you.
Watch Meghan as Chris thanks Harry. She is clutched onto him, makes a face as if he's complimenting her, and only detaches the claw to seal clap in the direction of the camera. It's truly hilarious to watch. Meghan posted on Instagram, "Thank you, Chris Martin," as she panned the camera to Harry. And this was only the start of her Instagram obsession. I couldn't help but notice how empty the arena looks in this photo. What's crazy is that Katy Perry also performed, and as someone who covers pop stars and celebrity peers of Katy's, I kid you not, I didn't see one thing about Katy's performance until I searched it up. It's actually crazy because Katy is having a big career downfall after all the drama with Dr. Luke and a failed comeback, which I covered in my deep dive about her. So it's interesting to see if no one cares for Katy anymore, or if they just don't care for Harry and Meghan. Katy also didn't thank Harry or Meghan. She kept her focus on the veterans and even performed her biggest hits, which all have a theme of overcoming something big and doing great.
Thank you so much for having me on the Invictus Games opening ceremonies. Good luck to all the competitors. Thank you all for your service.
She put on one hell of a show, but her performance on YouTube only had 19,000 views, so that's telling. What's also telling is the fact that Katy didn't take any photos or videos with Harry and Meghan like this once relevant, now unpopular celebrity. Backstage, Meghan and Harry appeared in this video with Nelly Furtado. One user pointed out one of Meghan's tactics that we're all too familiar with, and that is love bombing the people she wants to be associated with. The touching, the hand on the arm, the closeness, and the over-the-top mirroring. These are classic Meghan when she's around anyone who has been touched by fame before. Nelly Furtado is pretty much irrelevant, so I didn't care much for this stunt. She had also performed as well. What do you guys think? At the Canucks game, Harry appeared stern and borderline irritated backstage, while Meghan is doing her robotic Coraline mother smile again, which was contrary to all their excessive PDA earlier. It looks like Harry doesn't even know he's being filmed. There, Meghan clawed onto Harry again, putting her head on his shoulder as he donned a tight-lipped smile. Here's the photo from a different angle. Meghan and Harry then gave another kiss, which seems like it's done strategically at this point. Royal broadcaster Helena Chard suggested that they're taking the advice of their PR person, Ashley Hansen, on appearing united and loved up in the midst of all the horror they're putting other people through.
And doing a fabulous performance of unity.
That position doesn't even look comfortable because when you usually put your head on someone's shoulder, you're laying on the couch or in a car where you're able to comfortably maneuver your body to do so. But Meghan just looks unnatural, just like her smile that's plastered on, in fear of the cameras catching her looking mean or irritated as in previous events. Even then, it appeared as if Meghan was scolding Harry or saying something that clearly bothered him. She looks angry while he looks as if he's thinking, "What has my life become?" In a different shot, she puts on that aggressive smile while Harry has the 1,000-yard stare on. It seems like Trump's comments are living rent-free in Meghan's head as she is trying her best to pretend like she's this easygoing wife who's a pleasure to be around.
Trump told the New York Post, "I'll leave him alone. He's got enough problems with his wife. She's terrible."
Harry is whipped. I'm not a fan of Meghan.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan. And I wasn't right from the beginning. I think poor Harry is being led around by his nose, okay?
You think it's going to end?
I do. It'll end, and it'll end bad.
Harry was given a shout out at the game, which he stopped at during the Invictus Games. It would have been nice for Harry to have a few veterans attend with him to show the appreciation he brags about in his speeches, but none were present, just the veteran claw. She posted this reel to her story where Harry is saying hello to someone, I think a player, and then Meghan goes to shake his hand too, and he just looks at her in confusion, as everything she does looks painfully forced. And is the woman next to her the assistant who's posting 30 times a day? I wonder. Later that night, Meghan and Harry dined at the same restaurant that William and Catherine visited. The owner and head chef Vikram told Hello magazine that Meghan said that during her pregnancies, she had only eaten Indian food because that's what she craved. In 2013, 12 years ago, Hello magazine also wrote about how Catherine, Princess of Wales, craved spicy Indian food during both her pregnancies. Coincidence, or is Meghan stalking Catherine again? People believe that Meghan was trying to name drop her kids and pregnancies for any sort of press attention during the games, as she usually does. Meghan then posted some content from the breakfast event they had where she wore a monochrome ivory outfit, and at this point she's in neutrals every single day, something she tried to blame on the royal family. Nonetheless, this was the continuation of her Instagram obsession. She posted Harry hugging a competitor and this other video where Meghan passionately hugs this woman who is showing her so much admiration, and I can only imagine an assistant with an iPhone recording at this moment that's supposed to be deemed as authentic. In a different clip, Meghan is pulling this woman in a wheelchair closer to her for the photo as Harry dances like a child. The woman didn't appear to give consent to be positioned for the photo and actually looks like she's complaining about something here as she shrugs as Meghan moves her, and this other man at the end is just watching unpleased as this is all happening. It was a very odd moment, but you can't tell anything because Meghan posted most clips with music on top of them. Meghan, of course, is just pleased with herself the entire time. She posted a bunch of content with Team USA. And this was all on the first day of the Invictus Games. What do you guys think? Meghan Markle's Instagram obsession. Meghan was posting on Instagram practically the whole time she was at the games. She posted this video of her and Harry backstage on a golf cart, casually rolling past a group of veterans, as if the veterans were there to see them, when in reality, it was the other way around. She is clawing onto Harry as she starts the waving and seal clapping, and is that her screaming, "Hi"? They were blasted as tone deaf for this video, rolling past veterans, some of them in wheelchairs, because it seemed tacky and self-serving, which seems like the intent since every moment was posted on her Instagram stories. She also posted a video with the caption, "Walking into a very important meeting," basically teasing this new life as an Instagram influencer. That same day, Meghan read the children's book All Our Neighbors. I guess it was embarrassing for her not to have a job that one year she led the military parade, so she made sure she had a more official role this time around. She was plopped in the middle as Harry sat off to the side, and Meghan was extra animated when talking to the kids. It always makes me feel like she's never spoken to kids before, and this is coming from someone who has worked with kids.
Enormous, wasn't it?
I just know the kids are like, who's this lady using me for a photo op? Watch how she interacts with this child on a different day. She exaggerates her reactions even more, as if overcompensating for her apparent boredom. Toward the end, she even pretends to be shocked. To me, it feels like behind her eyes, she's thinking, this will make a great picture. And that, I believe, is exactly the point Meghan isn't getting. In this one clip she posted, she's posing with these kids and even moves the kid around for the photo captioned, "Always love seeing Ben and his family with the UK flag." The kid isn't saying much, but he only has one role when Meghan is around: be a prop. She's then doing some artwork with this child who looks like she'd rather be with her own mother, and it's hilarious to watch as Meghan's uncomfortable and doesn't know what she's doing, but is there for the photo op. She turns around to try to talk to someone else here.
To make some other fun things.
And then she's like, "Do you want to make some bracelets?" before abandoning the project as a whole.
Make some bracelets. Yeah.
This is what happens when you have to invent a role for someone who has no right to be the focal point of attention. One user wrote, "Meghan is totally out of her league entertaining those children. She's uncomfortable, unknowing, and very nervous. Perhaps if she spent a few minutes per day with her own alleged children, she might be more natural." Then in this photo, Harry holds a pair of underpants on his person, which many felt was inappropriate and that both he and Meghan are disturbing since this was an event for children. For context, Harry was presented with a pair of budgie smuggler swimming trunks by members of the Australian team. Meghan, of course, posted the full video on her Instagram stories. By the way, the whole time Meghan is at the games, Town & Country is writing a whole special about everything she's wearing and where to find alternatives and details. The author of the article, Emily Barak, was at the games detailing everything Meghan wore the 4 days she was there. This is also the same outlet that was exclusively notified about the donations Meghan and Harry gave the LA wildfire victims. So confirmed, this is nothing but a merching opportunity for Meghan. As I have previously reported, Meghan exposed how she invests in brands she wears because by wearing them, she promotes the brands and the sales go up and she makes money, so she's taking this a bit further by even promoting dupes on the website, making me question if she's part of an affiliate program where she makes commission or not. I guess it makes sense why she's not wearing any sort of Invictus Games merch this year or any year really. Later in the afternoon, at the Team USA vs Nigeria wheelchair basketball match, Meghan wore jeans, a sweater, and a blazer. Interestingly, she's not wearing anything over the top when she's at the games, as opposed to all her outrageous outfits and dresses in Nigeria and Colombia, which were inappropriate to wear at school events. It's like she dresses appropriately when she's in the States, as opposed to overseas when she's stunting on everyone in low-income neighborhoods. Meghan didn't interact much with Team Nigeria as she did in the past when she was planning her faux royal tour of Nigeria. Both she and Harry were gifted a custom Nigerian team shirt, one that Meghan didn't even look pleased to receive. Archie and Lilibet were also gifted some shirts, and Harry seemed like a good sport, but I couldn't help but feel the coldness Meghan had toward Nigerians after being embraced by the team in the past. Did she get what she wanted, and that's to get crowned in Nigeria as some princess, and now she no longer cares to keep the act up? What do you guys think? Look at how she's eyeing the camera here. She posted another video captioned, "Learning about curling," as she panned the camera around to the people sitting next to her, as well as another video. Here she has a camera in Harry's face, and he looks far from being pleased with her behavior. Look at his annoyed stare at her versus Meghan's big fat smile. You can sum up their dynamic in this one photo. Empty stands and staging fans. Meghan posted a bunch of stuff on Instagram, including this one photo where she's cheesing at this baby, failing to realize the completely empty stands behind her. It seems like no one was at that event, as you couldn't escape the empty stands and lack of crowds in every photo and video. These photos also show how there are no crowds during the competitions, even though they show up to the opening and closing ceremonies. This shows the problem Invictus may encounter, since the whole point of the games is to show up for the veterans. Instead, people are showing up to the spectacle that's made with celebrities and with Meghan and Harry as the focal point. One user wrote, "The Invictus competitors were promised that 40,000 will be cheering them on. Where are those imaginary people? Why did Canadian citizens pay for a giant concert to launch a competition no one is watching? $30 million down the drain to satisfy Harry's ego. These competitors have to be disappointed. This is why the event should have been allowed to grow organically and not artificially inflated. Here are more empty stands on a different day." People also noticed that Peace A. Toro was there sitting behind Meghan, as she had previously come to events to support Harry and Meghan. Here she is in Nigeria meeting Meghan. She's the one in the yellow head wrap. Apparently, she's a super fan who has reportedly talked badly about William and Catherine online. She had previously tweeted, "The whole royal family are revolting and racist. I hope after the Queen dies, the monarchy dies with her. Despicable family." Her Twitter is private now, but here she is posing with a reporter who is very pro-Harry and Meghan. Meghan and Harry complain about the hate and yet supposedly hire these unhinged fans to travel with them to spread their vile agenda. What do you guys think? In this video, Meghan trips holding up this one fan, and then she's held up by a group of fans, and people notice that the scarf this woman is wearing has something to do with being a Sussex fan squad or something. Tom Bauer was also there, and he was practically harassed by fans for being there.
You are at Invictus.
Why I'm here?
Yeah, why are you at Invictus? Sure, really?
It's interesting because Tom didn't do anything besides tell the truth about Meghan in his book. You know, the truth which Meghan couldn't and didn't sue for. One of the lies Harry tells at the games is that he likes Canada because there's no pop culture there, which is interesting since he basically exposes Meghan's lies by that one statement. I spoke about this in a previous short. Prince Harry may be the biggest hypocrite, that or he's just playing dumb. At the Invictus Games, he told a reporter that no one chases him and his wife Meghan Markle with cameras because there's no pop culture there in Canada as opposed to California.
The reason we went to Vancouver Island was because there's no one running around chasing people with cameras there.
Anyone who's covered Hollywood stars knows that 9 out of 10 times paparazzi won't catch you in Canada, so Prince Hypocrite is right about one thing. Except when Meghan staged a whole photo shoot in Vancouver, in the middle of a park, mind you, the week she and Harry left the royal family. She was photographed multitasking anything she possibly could, such as holding baby Archie in what looks like the most uncomfortable position for a baby to be in, while walking 2 dogs and glaring straight at the camera with a big smile as 2 royal protection officers followed closely behind. You cannot tell me that these photos don't look staged. They were taken by Backgrid, a company known to be called by celebs to distribute these photos. She then went ahead and sued Splash UK for the photos to combat the claimed that they were so obviously staged, even though literally no one else was in the park around them and Meghan was staring directly at the camera. And just to add on to that, Meghan's entire defense on Netflix was that she was getting chased in Toronto while filming Suits, but I thought there is no pop culture in Canada. So you admit you staged photos? But let's go back to Harry. Not once has he or Meghan been chased by the paparazzi in California or chased in general. The one time there was paparazzi frenzy was when they left an event in New York, hopped out of their security detail and into a yellow taxi cab, and then claimed they got chased on the FDR for 2 hours in New York City of all places. The NYPD, the mayor, and the tax driver all denied that there was a high-speed wannabe cryptic Diana chase, and yet this man with his whole chest is continuing to pretend that he and his family get chased by paparazzi in a bid to get the tax-paying people to pay for their security. But wait, it gets more embarrassing. In December 2022, LAPD files revealed that Harry and Meghan leaked their whereabouts to the tabloid media to victimize themselves. So to summarize, they have never been chased in California or anywhere, there is no paparazzi culture in Canada, which exposes Meghan's history of staging photos in Canada, they outed their own address to the media, and strategically placed a source in the media to sell their story according to police documents. Would you believe a single word from either of them? You tell me. More embarrassing moments. In this one clip, Meghan's mask slips and she has this aggressive, mean stare, unaware that the camera is on her. Then she makes eye contact, and the moment she realizes she's being filmed, she instantly shifts, flashing an exaggerated smile and waving with an almost unsettling enthusiasm. The contrast is both hilarious and eerie. In another clip, Meghan basically gives Harry the go-ahead to shake the man's hand. She lets him go first, and then she goes after him, which is quite the change from her barging in front of him and leaving him off to the side. Did she finally learn that people can't stand her when she does that? Or does she know that she's only at the Invictus Games, or anywhere really, because of Harry? Or is she trying to win Harry back, as I'll discuss later in the video? In this clip, Harry is interacting with kids who want nothing to do with Meghan as she first smiles at them, trying to get their attention and possible photo op, but they pay her no mind. She tries to bring them closer to her by smiling and staring at them, but again, no luck. Two different kids come to show Harry something and she's trying her hardest to be involved, but literally no one cares for her. I can't help but draw comparisons to Catherine, whose warm aura is very inviting, leading kids to naturally cling to her instead of trying to make eye contact with them to aggressively maneuver them for a photo op. In this photo, Harry finally put on some Invictus merch, Meghan didn't, and she won't, as we know, and she's clutching onto his thigh as his body language shows him leaning away from her yet again. Here, Meghan is on her phone, again, probably enjoying how much attention she's receiving from her Instagram stories. Then in this picture, you can see how focused she is on her phone. She doesn't even realize that someone behind her seems to be talking to her. One user made a great point, saying, "Invictus must be so happy Meghan Markle is directing online traffic to boost her Instagram account by posting content on her stories and not even tagging Invictus or allowing them to share content. If it were about Invictus, all content would be shared through their social media." With As Ever's debut and the release of her Netflix show, we know that Instagram is her main sense of promotion despite being filled with bot followers. Stay tuned for that video coming up next because I have so much tea to spill, so make sure to subscribe and keep those post notifications on so you don't miss the live premiere we do for every video. But judging by this photo, Meghan looks like she was there to film Instagram content and couldn't wait to wrap up whatever they were doing so she can go rot on Instagram most likely. One thing that happens every year at the Invictus Games is Meghan's refusal to promote the games by wearing any Invictus Games merch. This year, she graced us with like 8 different jackets, while Harry had to be bullied into wearing the Invictus Games branded puffer about 2 days into the games. Meghan, on the other hand, was wearing a $5,000 Hermes coat, and it's bad enough that she was filming everyone and everything to promote herself, but she didn't even put in any effort in promoting the games. Once a self-serving grifter, always a self-serving grifter. Everything was excessive about this year's Invictus Games, with the expected outfits from Meghan, even though there were a few rewears such as the coat from the Canucks game and the Hermes coat, to the private jets they used, to the 5-star hotel costing over $6,000 a night. Now, it wouldn't be anyone's business what they spend their money on, despite being self-proclaimed environmentalists, but when it's all coming out of Invictus and possibly as a tax write-off, then it is definitely people's business. Especially when they had volunteers helping out, so you'd think that the cost would be reduced, but no. Speaking of volunteers, they actually complained. One senior Invictus Games volunteer said that Harry's speech was a distraction and that, while we remain committed to supporting the veterans and their families, there is growing frustration over how Harry and Meghan have dominated the narrative. Another volunteer said, they have become a distraction, overshadowing the veterans who should be at the center of it all. This event should be about the veterans, not royal spectacle. I mean, look at this embarrassing photo with Meghan's eyes closed, tongue out, and Harry getting ready for the makeout scene. This photo may actually be my favorite from the games because it sums up the games in one shot. Two PDA-obsessed people who look out of place because everything they do is out of place. Since the start of the event, with Harry tilted away from the claw to the end, there was a complete lack of respect and professional demeanor. Harry seemed to be following Meghan's well-worn playbook, one we've seen her use at past events, where she fabricates grandiose stories about things their children supposedly said to her. First, it was Lily saying, "I see me in you."
So our daughter Lily, a few weeks ago, she looked at me. She goes, "Mama, I see me in you."
Now, Harry is claiming that Archie asked him about landmines.
Archie was asking about landmines. I was talking about how some of these guys were blowing up. I did. I found myself talking to him about mines as 5 years old.
What? A 5-year-old is asking about landmines? If you don't know the correlation here, in 1997, Princess Diana famously walked through an active minefield in Angola to raise awareness about landmines. Suddenly, 5-year-old Archie, who instead of watching cartoons or drawing, is asking about landmines? Harry followed it up by talking about how men have been blown up.
Archie was asking about landmines. I was talking about how some of these guys were blowing up.
Because of course, that's exactly the kind of conversation you'd have with a young child, except it's not even remotely appropriate or believable. But alas, the facade continues. Harry then pivots to Diana, using it as an opportunity to bring up Grandma Diana.
Interestingly, it gave me a chance to talk about my mum, his grandma.
Right. Because discussing people being blown up with your 5-year-old is the only way to bring up your mother. He even stutters and says he saw videos, and then he says he wanted to see videos.
For him, which is, he then saw videos, he wanted to see videos and photographs.
Then continues stuttering.
Of his grandma Diana out doing her thing for landmines all those years ago.
This is textbook definition of a liar making up stories and losing track of the direction of the lie. Love bombing, fighting misery, and the claw. One user brought up an interesting correlation between Harry and Meghan at the Lakers game versus the Canucks game. At the Lakers game, Meghan rejected Harry's kiss and brushed him off, while at the Canucks game, she was all over him, holding on to him, forcing her head on his shoulder, smiling at him, tapping his arm, and overall being very attentive. And I can't help but notice this shift in behavior after what seems like 2 years of Harry looking fed up with Meghan and her agenda. She goes from looking at him with such evil in her eyes and him zoning out, to lovingly staring at him and begging for his attention. And then she goes in for a kiss, which again looks awkward and forced as hell. It looks like she's instructing him as to what to do here. Their body language was off the entire game, and no amount of forced PDA will cover that up. But it seems like a very codependent relationship because Harry seems lost without Meghan, and she made sure this was the case when she began isolating him from everyone and anyone 5 years ago. At one of Meghan's last events at the games, Harry introduced her, and I only have one word to describe their entire interaction. Manic. Harry tries to make a joke.
Now she's gonna sing.
And Meghan's like attached to his chest, aggressively holding his hands, then arms, and portraying this annoying act of, oh no, me up here talking to all of you?
And my wife and I, come on here, come on. Now she's gonna sing. Guys, thank you so much. Thank you.
She's acting like she got picked out of a crowd to randomly come up on the stage, and this whole humble act is doing the exact opposite of what they're trying to achieve. From this angle, you can truly see how weird she is when she turns around and grabs Harry's hand. She even smacks his hand here, keeps tapping his forearm, and is just rubbing his hand in such a weird way here, and continues to do so. I'm sorry, but the whole thing is weird. When the Invictus Games posted about this, they did not include Meghan's appearance on stage on their social media, which makes me believe they were fed up with her. The clinging onto him is very weird, to be honest. You're addressing a crowd and yet Meghan seems to only be addressing Harry, which begs the question, is she trying to get back into his good graces? She's also wearing a $12,000 white coat, and I've spoken before about how she's strategic with certain colors she wears to make sure she stands out. And when everyone is wearing a dark colored coat and you got this person staring at the camera like this, one thing is for sure, yeah, we notice you. She also apparently had a mental breakdown at the games.
In fact, I was told by somebody who knows a lot that she keeps crying and saying to him, "Don't leave me, don't leave me." So I think that she's actually putting the biggest front she can, but it's sickening, isn't it? I mean, a woman of that age who's been married for nearly 7 years shouldn't be sort of, kissing him on the face and stroking his neck, and actually this one holding his face on either side so he can't move. It's absolutely pathetic.
Meghan also started doing this stare again, which I'm sure is her way of getting headlines of how she's lovingly staring at Harry, when to me, it all seems like a controlling tactic to get back into his good graces. This stare was once popularized by Miley Cyrus and Liam Hemsworth, and look at the way their marriage turned out. Look at this video of Meghan from years ago where she's doing that seductive power move stare again, and once she gets caught by the camera, she shifts her mask and goes into this manic dead in the eyes but look how wide my smile can get move. It's very unsettling. And she often does this where she makes intense eye contact with a person to try to portray this warm, empathetic aura which only comes off as cold and weird. At the games, she was talking to someone and she tried to do that intense stare again, as you can see, but as soon as she turns away and the woman is still smiling, the smile is dropped. Her mask completely slips as she looks at Harry in this terrifying way before she catches the camera, does a double take, seal waves, and puts on that fake wide smile again. At the end of the interaction when Harry turns around, she freezes and just looks around, assessing who Harry's talking to and gets ready to pounce. Watching Meghan move is like watching an AI reptilian. There is something eerily off and almost sinister about her. In this video, Meghan receives a bracelet from this woman and pretends to put it on, but never actually does. Instead, she poses with it, hugs the woman again, and then casually walks away without wearing it. Her movements are manic and almost calculated. I doubt she even liked the bracelet, probably because it isn't worth $10,000. Just like we saw in Nigeria, Meghan doesn't actually care about the gifts she receives, she only cares about the photo op. That's why her first instinct was to hold up the bracelet for the camera before anything else. And let's not forget that the claw will always make an appearance. Like in this video, where Harry is given a jar of Vegemite and there it is, the claw immediately goes for it, turning the jar while Harry, still mid-conversation with the woman, looks too stunned to speak. But of course, a narcissist always needs to insert themselves into every interaction. She then locks eyes on the woman with that empty, unsettling smile of hers, and once again, everything just feels off. Even in this video, Harry is mid-conversation with this man when right on cue, Meghan randomly swoops in with a hug. I can't tell if this is her way of signaling Harry to wrap it up, because right after, he suddenly moves on to hug another man. It's awkward because Meghan is controlling everything and coming and going in such an unnatural way. Here, Meghan and Harry are taking a photo with this man, and just look at how weird this photo is. The man is talking to Harry, looking at Harry, pointing at Harry, and yet Meghan is double clawing his hand down while staring intensely at him. I mean, what? In this video from Meghan's Instagram stories, she's recording this interaction where Harry is still pushing the lie that Meghan apparently speaks French.
I don't speak French. Yes, she does.
Un petit peu. I know.
He speaks the most.
There is just something so off about humans who can't have an interaction without a camera recording even in the middle of a dark, poorly lit car. Unless you're a vlogger, there is no reason for you to have every moment on camera. And you know, psychology shows that even if you're at dinner and your phone is on the table face down, but visible, psychologically, the person in front of you will dislike you a little bit more as they feel that your attention is already divided between the potential of you going on your phone and the conversation at hand. So you can imagine how everyone felt as Meghan shoved a phone in everyone's face all week. Also, remember what I said in previous videos about Meghan using random facts about herself to connect with people? In Nigeria, it was because she's allegedly 43% Nigerian.
My country.
In Colombia, she supposedly could speak Spanish.
Hola.
And now in Canada, where French is the second most spoken language in the country, Meghan magically also knows it. This strange pattern she follows, trying to set herself apart by personalizing her experience in each country she visits. Now, one of the most bizarre claw moments at the games is when Meghan spotted the camera here and physically moved the woman she's talking to in the direction of the camera for the perfect shot. The audacity to physically position a person and move them into the frame. And it worked, because she then got these photos of her doing that intense stare where she pretends to care, followed up by a bear hug in perfect view of the camera. The entire day, she is posting a bunch of content to her Instagram stories, and it's all a few seconds long, but it's this obsession with showing how important she is at the games, that she's always being filmed walking somewhere, and that people are waiting for them.
All of our competitors, welcome to Whistler.
Are you gonna sing? No, I'm not singing.
Finally, on her last day there, she continued the posting with this video of her and Harry going up the slope. Then she posted these two clips of her so scared for her life, and she repeats again, "I don't want to do this."
3, 2. No, I really don't want to do it.
No, come on, you'll be absolutely fine.
Okay.
You'll be fine.
Oh
You'll be fine. Ready?
Keep your feet up.
Feet up! Feet up! Feet up!
Which mirrors a theme we've seen before. Like when she was on stage during the games saying, "I wasn't gonna talk tonight," and pushing Harry away when he tried to bring her up on stage, and so on.
And my wife and I, come on here, come on. Now she's gonna sing.
Ha 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 ha. Hysterical.
No, come on, you'll be absolutely fine. You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
You hear Harry talking in the background, and I think this was an attempt to show the personality side of their relationship. That they're just like us, and normal, and quirky, and barefoot in jeans in the kitchen meeting in-laws. But it's all an act, in my humble opinion.
No, and you just keep your body weight back?
Yeah, body weight back.
The reason is because Meghan's father, Thomas Markle, would often take Meghan on fishing trips in Big Bear Lake, which is home to nearby ski resorts such as Snow Summit and Big Bear Lake and Bear Mountain. What's the chance that Meghan was only going fishing even though there is childhood content of her in Big Bear? I'm not saying she went skiing as a child, but this damsel in distress act and her being shocked at people skiing or tubing around her when she would vacation in this same environment seems like an act. A chance to be relatable, quirky, and show off that stone-hard personality.
I mean, you guys. Meanwhile, he's racing on the thrillway with a 10-year-old.
Something that she's trying to do today with her Netflix show, which is already bombing in reviews. When Meghan left, Harry was off dancing and in a good mood. While back home, Meghan had to remind everyone of herself, posting this photo on Instagram with the kids' names on shirts, writing, "A taste of Canada in the Invictus games for our little ones, cheering you on from home." This whole using the kids on her Instagram stories almost daily at this point will be a big talking point in my upcoming video on the As Ever mess, the People magazine exclusive, and her new show premiering on Netflix. They are giving me so much content to work with, it's insane. But one thing is for certain, these two are media obsessed. During the games, Meghan was wearing this new signet ring engraved with her and Harry's monogram, and Meghan desperately wanted us to notice it. Just like she positioned that woman in front of the camera, she wore the ring twisted toward the camera so we could see the monogram. And she did this on multiple occasions. Us Weekly then cited a source, I wonder who said that it was an anniversary gift from Harry. Well guys, this has been an insanely long video, but we have made it to the end. Thank you for your patience in waiting for me to finish this video when I got sick, and rest assured, I'll be covering all the drama with As Ever, Meghan's new show, and more in my upcoming video. If you haven't seen yet, we launched our podcast called How Scandalous. You can listen to it here on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Inlet FM, and more. Everything will be linked in the description box, so be sure to subscribe and follow us wherever you get your podcasts. The first episode explored the theme of, are Meghan and Harry frauds? And we all know the answer to that. And to make you laugh, to show you that Meghan does not learn from her mistakes. So we established that she couldn't trademark American Riviera Orchard, right?
Yeah.
Well, As Ever has 3 trademark applications and all of them are still pending.
What is she trying to sell?
Oh, do you have 30 hours?
Textile tablecloths, placemats, napkins, again, oh my gosh. Household linen, throws, bed blankets, bedspreads.
Non-medicated skincare preparations. I would hope it's non-medicated, because Meghan, stay away from the pharmaceutical industry. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe for new videos each week, and let me know what you think in the comments down below. Did I miss anything else from the Invictus Games? And as always, I'll see you next time.